And the first item under the agenda, and we'll use the microphones on the floor, is a resolution of core values and accountability of Republican officials and candidates. The chair recognizes J.B. Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I could go into probably a 15-minute speech about this, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to read the resolution. The purpose of my motion is to amend the rules. This is not a resolution. This is to amend the state party rules by adding a new section under Rule 10 of the State Committee concerning party support of candidates and elected officials. But I will plug this. This was generated after the RNC, the Republican National Committee, passed a resolution in January of 2010 that, and it's on our website, you can read it, that says basically vet your candidates. If they don't support the party platform, don't support them. The following are the reasons it is why is the new rule adopted by the County Convention for submission to the State Convention. Elected officials on the local, state, and federal level have, over the years, consistently voted against the core values of the Republican Party platforms. Elected officials on the local, state, and federal level have, over the years, have publicly supported candidates of other parties. This departure of our platforms has greatly contributed to the loss of freedom and liberty, larger government, higher taxes, increased national debt, and unsecured borders. By returning to the core values of our party platforms, we reduce the risk of losing our freedom, liberty, our party, and our nation. I move the following language be added to the rules of the Oklahoma Republican Party, Mr. Chairman. I move that we add under Rule 10 a new section in party support of candidates and local officials, and it would state, in accordance with the framers' original intent of the United States Constitution and in accordance with the Constitution of the state of Oklahoma, the core values of the Oklahoma Republican Party shall be: 1, life. Life is the result of an act between one man and one woman and begins at conception and concludes at natural death. 2, Second Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is an inalienable right of the individual citizen, and government has no authority to regulate such right. 3, limited smaller government. Government is instituted to oversee the general welfare of citizens. Local, state, and federal governments have reached well beyond that which is needed to carry out the basic functions of a constitutional government. And number 4, lower taxes. Taxes and mandatory fees have grown to consume approximately 50% of an Oklahoma citizen's income. Drastic tax and fee reductions are needed at all levels of government. This rule would further say any member of the Oklahoma Republican Party State Committee shall have the right to present evidence of any elected Republican official who consistently works against and or votes against these core values or publicly supports a candidate of another party. After such evidence is presented and a motion and second are made, the State Committee shall take a vote of no confidence of said elected Republican official. A 2/3 majority vote of members present shall be required for passing a vote. Mr. Chairman, I believe that would be my motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. Are there any questions on the proposal?
Wait. Over here. Doctor.
If there is opposition, there will be debate.
Where does the questions go?
Yes.
The question was the 2/3 of the people present voting. The last sentence would be a 2/3 majority vote of members present shall be required for a passing vote. The state committee may have, I don't know how many members it's got 77 counties, a chairman, vice chairman, maybe 200 members, 175 members, but not all members would be present. But those present at that meeting, it would take 2/3 at that meeting to pass this. You're correct. His question is, it says in the resolution that was typed up here, it says 2/3 majority of vote of members present. It doesn't say present and voting. So some members could be present but refuse to vote. Was that your question? Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure how that proceeds, if it can be amended or what.
You can accept it as a friendly amendment if the convention so approves.
Are you offering an amendment to say present and voting?
I need your name, sir.
Warren Robert. How can we amend it before we vote on it?
Oh, this gentleman up here's got the.
Amending the motion. Get up here.
Give us your name. And here, William Wright. Knight.
Mr. Knight is recommending that it be added to this resolution a 2/3 majority vote of members present and voting. He's recommending adding that there could be 200 people present, 50 of them decide not to vote. Is it 2/3 of the present or 2/3 of the voting is the challenge.
All those in favor of this friendly? Questions on the amendment first, I'm sorry. Any questions on this amendment?
Not on the amendment, no.
Okay. Okay. Any opposition to this amendment? All those in favor of this amendment signify by... I'm sorry, we missed someone. Hold on. Were you opposed?
Well,
Come forward if you have a question. Let's go to this other microphone over here.
I'm just not entirely sure why you would want to limit it to only voting. If there's going to be a vote of no confidence, then I think people are probably choosing not to vote for a specific reason, and I think that it should be the total that for their president.
Do you have a question?
Well, I just don't understand why we want to limit it to only voting. What's the reason for that? I'd like to hear a good argument for that before.
Well, that's not part of my resolution. That was the gentleman's insertion of the. I was just explaining what, because he wasn't able to come up to the mic.
I understand that. Well,
I was raising.
It was a friendly amendment, and
Mr. Knight, do you want to answer the question? The question is, why do you want to have those voting there in case they don't want to vote?
Okay.
All right. Question answered. The answer was, if you take a present instead of voting, it's an Obama stand, according to Mr. Knight.
So, sir, would it be fair to say by adding this, your intent is to say is 2/3 of those vote that are present and voting, to say if you're going to vote, you've got a say in the 2/3. If you're not going to vote, you don't have a say in the 2/3. Would that be correct?
Right.
Okay, now the chair will entertain any debate if there's no more questions. Okay, we're back on the resolution. Are there any questions about the resolution as read and amended?
I would assume, Mr. Chairman and JB, that the state committee probably has a quorum that must be met before they can officially hold a meeting. That's probably correct. Like most bodies, I would assume that there has to be, so if there's 200 members, they probably have to have at least 100 there. And I'm only bringing this up for clarification because I heard somebody behind me say, well, they could have 20 show up and 20 people only 15 could vote to censor somebody, and that isn't fair, and so on and so forth. But there is a quorum. I just want to clarify, in order for them to meet, probably 50%. Is that right? Sally's probably.
Yes, they have to have a quorum, that's correct.
And a
yes.
quorum is probably 50%.
Are there any, we're back on the resolution, any other questions about the resolution as amended? Will there be any other questions? Will there be debate? Opposition? Okay, if you'll go to this side. Any of those in favor, I assume you'll debate. Who wants to debate for? Molly? Do you want to? Where's my timekeeper? Okay, we'll give 1 minute. Okay, I'm sorry. There's 5 minutes. 5 minutes for each side. We have a timekeeper in front. And if you'll begin opposition first to the resolution. Identify yourself, please.
Don Burdick, past county chairman. You know, JB, I'm going to say that I appreciate your intent, but I look at the evidence. The evidence is the Republican Party controls every statewide office as of today. We control the state Senate. We control the state House. Our problem is not that we need to fight amongst Republicans. And then I look at the language here. This is what I think is very critical and why I think this should be voted down. You state what the core values should be, and then you have bullet point 4. Let's just look at that as an example. Lower taxes, dash. Taxes and mandatory fees have grown to consume approximately 50% of an Oklahoma citizen's income. Drastic tax and fee reductions are needed at all levels of government. This language implies that unless our Republican officials are doing drastic tax reductions, we may have grounds to censure them. Now, drastic isn't defined. It's not defined. It's subjective. If you're going to write language that are core values, they've got to be a lot clearer than this. And although, again, let me reiterate, I appreciate your intent, and I think we're all in agreement there. But unfortunately, this resolution should go down. It's not clear enough, and I'm not going to hold my Republican officials to some vague terms to be accountable to and have us fighting Republicans when we should be defeating Democrats.
Warren Roberts, Precinct 130. I'm not sure, but maybe there's more words that we're loading in here than we have in the United States Constitution. We have talked about this for a number of years, and I feel very strongly that it's a hazard to the Republican Party if you start feeding a bunch of no-nos into our candidates. I know if you don't like their position, go to the polls and vote.
Mike Craddock, one of the problems I have with this resolution is whose standard are we going to use? What elements are we going to hammer the elected officials with? I mean, there is no standard here. And so it's such a complete subjective item that it's very scary. I mean, this is a very big brother attitude. And I agree with Don Burdick. We are dealing with Republican officials who are trying to do good things. Maybe that is true. There's the poll. But also, though, we're saying if we don't agree with someone, I want them out of there. And we're hoping that our, in marriages it doesn't work that easily. Our churches, our denominations disagree. There are many elements in life you do have to work through items. And this in here, the subjectivity in this resolution is not good. And so I would encourage everyone to vote this resolution down because there is not enough information here to go with.
I almost hate to say anything because I feel like this is very important. Oh, my name's Jenny Plaster, Precinct 64. I almost hate to say anything because I feel like this is very important, especially after watching my representative vote against or for the House Bill 2130. But specifically the wording after the Second Amendment that the government has no authority to regulate such a right. We do. I mean, the concealed carry law, we have to regulate whether or not people go through classes and things like that. And